I think trade, because they have a very, very specific focus on this area of work, so they really understand it, they're really passionate about it, and they're really specialised in this piece of work, and that comes through. I think they're very energetic when we talk to them about it. They ask very pertinent questions. Through their questioning, they can help us to think through what we want to do in the project, and so working with trade on this area really, really helps us to design and develop the piece of work that we're doing. So that's why we were really keen to get trade involved. I think the project that we're working on with Nagarick is it's providing an amazing service for the women and the children in the areas in the garment industry. Prior to having a safe space for the children to go, either for daycare for the younger children or primary school for slightly older children, the women were really, they were really stuck. The choices that they had were so limited, and in every context it wasn't good for the child. They could either, the children sometimes would have to walk to school on their own or walk long distances to school if there was a school available, which often is dangerous. Often it's across dangerous roads or places that really aren't safe for small children to be walking alone, because the women had to get into work so early. So they were facing dangerous situations, or the children ended up staying at home, often uncared for or cared for by slightly older siblings. So that meant that the older siblings weren't going to school, and also the young children were being cared for by very young children. So again, they were put in a situation where it was quite dangerous. The other alternative was for the women not to work, but then obviously they can't do that because they need to feed their children. So they were really stuck in a situation where, what could they do? Every option that they had was a bad option. So Nagarick being able to open the day centres and the schools has really sort of helped the children to be in a safe space, to start to socialise with other children, to learn together, to play together, to give them a really good grounding for the future. So hopefully they'll be able to go to mainstream schools and they'll be able to access mainstream education. I know that Nagarick is pushing the education system to provide better and closer and more effective education for the children. So they're really trying to make a change, for a social change in the areas that the women work in. They're working to try and improve the working conditions of the women, the hours, to make sure that the children aren't employed in the same factories, and to keep the factories much safer and be much more child-friendly generally by giving the women space to take their children to school and give space for schooling and daycare. So it's a really sort of holistic programme, and the inputs from trade and ChildHope, I think, are really sort of helping to provide very targeted, specific support to a group of women who are often really neglected, and obviously the children are neglected by that, in that way.